I'm Netta Loevy, and as the ambassador said, I'm coming from an NGO, a women's NGO called Itach Ma'aki. Itach Ma'aki is with you in Hebrew and in Arabic, Women Lawyers for Social Justice. We're an Arab-Jewish NGO, advocacy NGO, working since 2001 to advance rights of women, and especially those from marginalized communities in Israel, focusing on the rights and voices of women from social, ethnic, geographic, and economic periphery in Israel, women who are invisible to decision makers in the public policy and legal fields. And in the issue of peace and security, almost all women are sometimes invisible. Itach Ma'aki pursues the project and advances the implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1325 for many years now. So let's go back a little bit just to have a shared common ground of 1325 UN Security Council resolution that was passed 19 years ago, a week ago, 19 years ago, by the Security Council, who is not a women's rights committee, who is mostly male-dominant and then was only the male-dominant. And it was the first time when the Security Council had any resolution that referred to women. This was the first resolution that referred to women, and not only that, it said specifically that women had to be part of decision-making bodies in issues of peace and security. Women need to participate, to be protected of violence, from all sorts of violence, and to have a gender perspective assimilated into peace and security discourse. We will localize here in Israel, and for Israel in the beginning, Israel was the first country to adopt a bill, a law that referred and that adopted part of 1325, a very important part. It was a legislation that the women's organizations in Israel were leading this change together with Member of Parliament Netta Loevy and Yuli Tamir in 2005. And in this legislation, Israel commits itself to ensure proper representation of women from diverse communities in public committees, including in public committees that refer and deals with peace and security issues. This was a very, very big step, but the implementation was very, very scarce. And Itach Ma'aki, since 2008, submitted 7 petitions to Supreme Court against 7 committees that did not have a proper representation of women at all, and especially did not have proper representation of women from minority groups, from diverse communities. And after 7 petitions, the situation did improve. And nowadays, when I send a first appeal or a first letter to a minister regarding a committee that doesn't have a proper representation, usually, not usually, but sometimes they answer. That is also very important. But not only that they answer, they usually add women. But women's organizations realized after these 7 petitions that this bill and this very important legislation is not enough. Meanwhile, around the world, in many of your countries, there were national action plans to implement 1325. You know, the ambassador referred to the 3rd action plan in Sweden, but in almost 80 countries around the world by now there is a national action plan, and in Israel there isn't a national action plan actually until now. During 2012 and 2014, more than 30 women's organizations and civil society organizations organizations set together to a profound process of roundtables, creating together a detailed and a very thorough action plan by the civil society, saying how does 1325 should be implemented in Israel. After a very big campaign with this spin that the ambassador also showed you, and with a very big international conference where the Secretary General sent us a video saying that we should go on with implementing 1325, and we had a lot of collaboration with the government and with the Knesset, and in December 14, almost 5 years ago, there was this landmark government decision saying that the government of Israel has to adopt a national action plan in the spirit of 1325. Now it's almost 5 years and Israel still doesn't have a national action plan, and we are always calling the government to have a national action plan. During 2015, after this adoption of this very important resolution, we had a big collaboration with Women Wage Peace and with Adam Institute, and together we held seminars, trainings for more than 500 women from diverse communities in Israel, studying about 1325 and getting what I'm calling the legitimacy to speak out loud in the issues of peace and security, something that is not obvious for many women in Israel. After these women went through these trainings, they went outside to the Knesset, to their local politics, and still they felt that they don't have enough tools. So in the last year, we established, we called it the 1325 Innovation Center, again together with collaboration with many feminist experts and activists and organizations dealing with 1325. And together we are developing new tools in order to adjust. We're calling 1325 sometimes a tool, sometimes a key, that we believe is suitable and should fit to the Israeli reality. And we are now working on several tools. One is the policy change, where we study a lot. We are being inspired also by the handbook of the Swedish foreign feminist policy, how to localize the 1325 principles into decisions, government decisions and laws, and of course advance the implementation by the government. Another thing is something that is very relevant to this distinguished audience, the fact that in many conflicts around the world, when the conflict when the negotiation on the first draft is stuck, and there isn't a negotiation table for many years, as you know, in many conflicts like that, there is an implementation of 1325 principles in the track 2 and track 3, the informal peace or dialogue negotiation. It doesn't have to be, some of them are confidential, some of them are civil society dialogue groups. And we find that this is also one of the keys, that when international community will say, you need to fulfill the principles of 1325 in these circles, in the track 2 and track 3, it will also help to implement 1325, because then we will have, if we will have more women in these informal tracks and informal talks, we will also be able to have more women when the day will come and we'll have a peace negotiation table. We are also using, we are also creating education kit, a 1325 kit to next year, to 2020, 20 years to 1325 resolution. And I think we are also trying to overcome the media barrier, which I think Dana Weiss will be able to help us maybe try to think how to overcome in the panel. We're also working on the platform of SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that you're I'm sure, aware of, and the fact that Israel is also committed to the Sustainable Development Goals, and the goal of the 5th goal and the 16th goals are for sure part of advancing the principles of 1325. And now I know I need to finish, so just one minute before I'm finishing, I want to refer to the fact that it is today 24 years to the assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. And I think that for many people in Israel, this was a day that it was a day when the word peace became almost irrelevant. And last Saturday, in the remembrance event in Rabin Square, 4 women from Women Wage Peace, 2 of them are from the project of Building a Joint Future, and one of them also sits here, Liora Hadar, and came on the stage and said out loud, we are women from diverse communities, very diverse communities. We are feminists, and we want to be heard in the issues of peace and security. And we think that 1325 is the right key to pursue that. Thank you very much.